Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
This one's wife. Evil. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. What is evil? Well, the dictionary definition is something that is profoundly immoral and wicked. It won't surprise you to learn that I've been described as evil, but I think they just fail to realise that I'm simply misunderstood. The concept, of course, of good and evil is all a matter of perspective. That there are certain behaviours that are commonly held as being viewed as evil. For instance, the murder of children would be roundly regarded as such. There are other instances where it might be regarded as a necessary evil. Some of my activities would fall under that category. But we're not going to be talking about me. I know, very disappointing, and I can hear your disappointment across the airwaves. But we're going to be talking about the fact that this one's wife and this one's wife's husband have been labelled as evil. Yes, Svar Nanan Sen, writing for GB News, explains as follows. Prince Harry and this one's wife have been branded evil. But by who? Well, it's by Samantha Markle's attorney, who claims that they want to control American speech. Peter Ticktin of the Ticktin Law Group launched a scathing attack on the Duke of Sussex during ongoing legal proceedings between this one's wife and her half-sister. To most of us Americans, we couldn't give a tinker's damn. First time I've heard that expression. I normally think you say tinker's cuss, but still. As to whether that prince is the Duke of Wales, the Duke of Sussex, or the Duke of Earl, Ticktin told Newsweek, as he marvellously confuses his hierarchy of British titles. The attorney criticised Harry's presence in the United States, stating, "This Duke is here as our guest, and his goal seems to be to control our speech." Ticktin's criticism centred on this one's wife and Harry's involvement with the Aspen Institute's Commission on Information Disorder, which he mockingly referred to as the Ministry of Truth. The attorney took particular issue with Harry's role as one of 16 governors who decide which statements on our internet should be deleted as misinformation. The Commission, according to its website, works with government, private sector and civil society to address the spread of false information online. Ticktin also referenced Harry's previous comments about the US First Amendment being bonkers, suggesting this showed the Duke's attitude towards American freedoms. This foreigner, if we ever gave out titles in America, should be known as the Minister of Fiction, Ticktin declared. The criticism comes amid an ongoing legal battle between this one's wife and her half-sister Samantha. Samantha Markle is pursuing a libel case over comments made during the Netflix series Harry and This One's Wife, which aired in December 2022. After losing her initial case in federal court in Florida, Samantha has taken her lawsuit to the Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. The legal proceedings have been marked by disputes over titles, with This One's Wife's legal team expressing frustration at Samantha's use of Markle rather than Duchess of Sussex. In recent filings, Samantha's team has also referred to Harry using Prince William's title, Prince of Wales. Ticktin further criticised Harry and This One's Wife's recent initiatives around internet safety. The Sussex squad smear, threaten and set out to destroy anyone who criticises This One's Wife or Harry, Ticktin said. They are the evil which Harry pretends to be against. The comments follow the launch of the Archwell Foundation Parents Network in August, where Harry discussed online risks to young people. During a CBS Sunday morning interview, Harry expressed concern about social media's impact on children. They could be in the next door room, on a tablet, or on a phone, and can be going down these rabbit holes, Harry said. Before you know it, within 24 hours, they could be taking their life. Accordingly, this threat to the freedom of speech has been identified as evil by Peter Ticktin, the attorney acting on behalf of Samantha Markle. It's little surprise that this one's wife and Harry would seek to cut back and shut down people's ability to express themselves and exercise their freedom of speech. This is because Harry can adopt a high-handed and haughty attitude when it comes to such matters. He doesn't like being criticised. I mean, after all, who does? And of course, he gets a lot of criticism as a consequence of his behaviours. Much of it justified criticism. Given the scope and extent of that criticism, he would look for ways to silence it. It's also the case that he's driven to silence it out of his loyalty to his wife. After all, in the past he has spoken about how she has been affected by it all and how angry it made him, which is understandable, because at the end of the day, the love that he has for his wife, however misguided, would result in that individual wanting to protect that person. And where that person is visibly upset by what is happening to them, which of course is part of her manipulation of Harry, he's going to respond with his own empathy for her by wanting to do something about it. This one's wife's desire to tackle the ability of people to express themselves is much more self-serving, whereas Harry might be doing it for the sake of his children or for his wife, and although one might argue that the way he's going about it is rather cack-handed, you could see a degree of honest intention in relation to why he might be doing it. Nevertheless, an aspect of it is that he just doesn't like to be criticised himself and doesn't recognise that people are allowed to express their views. So part of it is the petulance that we see with Harry, whereby he'd want to stop people being able to criticise both him and his wife. But when it comes to this one's wife, it's even more self-serving. This is because, as you know, criticism of her is a threat to her need for control. Rather than her having the ability to recognise, well, people are allowed to express their views, or, well, actually, I can fully understand why I've been criticised in relation to that. I did a bad thing. She lacks the ability to reflect in that way. Her narcissism will not allow her to see that she is at fault, that she is the problem. And therefore, any time that anybody criticises her, her narcissism labels it as hate speech, as racism, as a bigoted response. Accordingly, it's very appealing to a narcissist to then want to shut people up, because by shutting them up, she nullifies that threat to control. She would see it that those individuals have basically excluded themselves from the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech because it shouldn't be used for hate speech. But of course, seen through the warped lens of her narcissism, she fails to understand that legitimate criticism isn't hate speech, that fair observation about her behaviour isn't racism. She always thinks that it is, because her narcissism tells her that, so that she's then moved to do something about it. If she wasn't troubled by it, then the narcissism would fail. Accordingly, it makes her hypersensitive to such criticisms and causes her to believe that it's hate and racism and misogyny. Thus, this compels her to do something about it, which includes this involvement with the Aspen Institute as a means of determining what is misinformation on the internet. Now, it seems to me, who are they? Not only who are they in terms of expertise, but who are they to be allowed to make this decision? That people should be able to make their own minds up. Unfortunately, a lot of people just look at the first paragraph of things and then take it as gospel rather than necessarily thinking about it. But at the end of the day, people should be allowed to make their own minds up about what they watch and what they read, and they ought to be able to then go away and look at it from different sources. That one outlet shouldn't have a monopoly on telling you what the truth is. There are a variety of different perspectives. But when it comes to this one's wife, there is only her truth, as she frequently talks about, and the necessity of shutting down people that say things which are critical of her. Thus, this desire to shut people up, to nullify these threats to control, has been branded as evil. Is this a view that you share? Do you see it as an evil act on their part, or simply something that's misguided and inappropriate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.